law firm provide legal representation to both the City of San Juan, Texas, and San Juan Economic Development Corporation. Mr., I don't know, Mr. Vasquez, you going to address that?
Yes, Mayor. As everybody knows, I was appointed the city attorney. However, I'm still the EDC attorney. Our disciplinary rules allow me to represent both entities. The Texas disciplinary rules are the rules that we're governed by, attorneys here in the state of Texas. The rules indicate that if there is a potential for conflict, the client can consent to representation of both clients. And the rule specifically says that if the lawyer reasonably believes there will not be a, let me get to that point. Sorry. The lawyer may request consent from his client if the lawyer reasonably believes the representation of each client will not be materially affected. And in speaking to the Texas Bar and the ethics attorneys, they indicated materially affected means that there would be a potential for conflict, and as long as the client knows that, and as long as the lawyer reasonably believes that the representation of each client will not be affected materially, that it's fine, that it's okay pursuant to our rules. The next item that we would have to discuss would be the full disclosure of the existence, the nature, the implication, or possible adverse consequences of common representation and the advantages involved, if any. In this case, the EDC is supervised by the city council. So the potential for conflicts that could arise are whether this city commission would approve the EDC's budget or any projects, memberships. So those would be the potential for conflicts that could arise. With that, I don't believe that it would be a problem in me representing both entities, and I'm requesting that the city allow me to represent both, to consent to it. I would also have to discuss this with my EDC board, and they would have to approve it as well, Mayor and Commission.
So if there is a situation where the EDC is proposing that the city enter into a 380 agreement, and the city says, because that's the way that a particular business may want to come in or condition, and let's say that the city commission decides, no, I think something that we are not able to do at this time, you need to be the ones to fund it. Which side would you pick?
First of all, the Chapter 380 is managed by the city. It is not managed by the EDC. The EDC simply makes recommendations as to the programs that are available to the city, such as the Chapter 380. There's also another program that is available at the city that provides funds up to $250,000 at the city. These are all programs that are recommended by the EDC. They facilitate them, but it's not made part of the EDC.
If the EDC uses that as a tool to negotiate with businesses, which it does.
As a recommendation.
As a recommendation, comes to us because there's been approach made to businesses, and this is what the city has offered in the past. This is something, and the business is, okay, that's my condition to coming in. So how would you deal with that?
Well, again, that would not be approved by the EDC. The EDC
I
would
know,
help
but
them
you're
fill it out.
using it, using it as a tool and to promote it, and your board is saying that's what we want. That's what we want you to approach the city with.
Yes, they would tell the individual to fill out the 380 application. The 380 application would then follow the process through the city commission. The city commission would approve it or not. I don't understand how the EDC can't make it a requirement or say this is the way it's gonna be. It doesn't work that way. Again, they don't have control. They cannot say this is the way it's gonna be, city. They can't. They tell the client, you must go fill out that application. You must go through that process. I can help you walk you through it. I can tell you what's been done in the past, but they can't make it a requirement for that client.
Right, and then the other situation, I believe, Mr. Vasquez, that even the mere appearance that you're going to be in conflict, I think of situations, one that we discussed in executive session, where it's going to be the approach that is being looked at the EDC versus what the city believes should be the appropriate way to proceed. And I think we looked at a situation, could there definitely be something like that. If we wanting to do it a certain way and the EDC a different way when it comes to transfers of property, and looking at how to make it possible for the EDC or how to make it possible. If it comes to a situation where we're not wanting to do it that way, the EDC is recommending or wanting to purchase or transfer it, because that's part of what they do in trying to negotiate. I mean, I think we come to those situations, and we will come to those situations, that I believe that you will conflict, and I believe, and even if you're saying that we approve and we consent, I mean, that doesn't mean that you're going to be allowed to go out and still be in conflict, although we've approved it. I just believe that setting yourself up for that, I don't think it's necessary that the city be placed in that position either.
Well, the way the Texas Municipal League lawyers indicated to handle that is either, the client will allow you to represent just the city, and you can have another attorney represent the EDC at no additional cost.
Right, but now you know, and I think the other thing is, let's say you decide that you're going to represent the EDC, and we're now looking at if we get to that position, we're looking at, well, you know what the situation on the city end would be, so you have an understanding, an insider, and I think I used that one time, you have an insider information that,
If I remind the mayor, so does the city commission, because it also has a representative from the city commission on that board.
right, but as
He's
you've
privy
seen.
to the same
As you've
information that I
seen,
am,
we
Mayor.
don't have Mr. Ramirez come and report what the EDC is doing. That doesn't happen. And maybe that's what needs to happen. There needs to be a meeting where that needs to be brought out.
But the bottom line is he's privy to the same information that I go to in executive session at the EDC or in this EDC office.
That's correct.
And I think
That's
that,
correct.
I think that there's also an assumption on your part, Mayor, that it's common practice for the EDC and the city to not agree, and I think that's a very, off-based assumption based on absolutely no fact or even experience. I can't recall a time in my time here where we've been in conflict or even total disagreement on how to execute a land transfer or a Chapter 380 agreement. In fact, the last several Chapter 380 agreements have pretty much been dictated by the city commission and not the EDC. The EDC only simply offered it as an opportunity for the incoming business, but you recall, because we hashed it out, particularly the Mercedes-Benz Chapter 380 agreement, it came to us and we dictated the terms of that agreement, not the EDC. The EDC simply offered it as a tool to incoming businesses. I think the other thing too is the assumption that because of the legal requirement that we be separate, that we have to be completely divided. And I think that's also an assumption that's dangerous, because I don't particularly see the city commission divided from the EDC. I think that we're all working in the best interest of the city. Now, having said that, our EDC has had some tumultuous times, and there's been a lot of change. And I think one of the things that's been a constant over there at the EDC has been Mr. Vasquez. And because he's been a constant there, I think we really need to continue with him, because we have, as you've known, because we've discussed in executive session, several items that are coming up that are going to require a lot of this institutional knowledge and a lot of this background, a lot of this history. And I think that we're not the only city that does it. I know that in my conversations with TML, it's not an uncommon practice. In fact, lots of cities have done it successfully. And I think personally that Mr. Vasquez is more than qualified to do the job and task, and particularly because of his experience with both the EDC and the city. I think it's a great benefit, not only to the city, but to the work that we're hoping to get accomplished and the businesses that we're currently and actively trying to attract to the city. I think that moving from that is not, moving away from that is not in the best interest of the city or the EDC. And I for one, think that, it's not advantageous to us to continue to use the division of the EDC and the city that's statutory as a wedge between the city and the EDC. And I think that, with some of the assumptions that you're throwing out, it really works as a wedge between us. And I'd like to see us working closer as opposed to further apart. And so I for one, think that, if the law is clear on it, Mr. Vasquez is more than clear on it, and I trust his judgment as well. I don't see a particular problem with this at all. And having said that, I'd like to make a motion that we approve and consent Mr. Vasquez be allowed to represent both the city of San Juan and the EDC. I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second? I'd like to have a discussion. I think that if this commission would approve that, which I can tell they will, I expect that billing to go down, because now you don't have a separate attorney having to review the things that are being brought in from the EDC or the city, so you cannot double bill by being able to review a contract.
I haven't done that.
I'm telling you that it should not be the same as what was happening with Mr. Munoz here, to review whatever you're forwarding from the EDC when it was presented to us, and then whatever you do. So I would suspect. The other thing is that I know you bring in other attorneys, and I would request that you not, if you're, I understand that there's going to be times that you may not be able to make it, but I would suggest and would recommend that Garza Saavedra not be sent to come before this commission.
I assume that's a suggestion, Mayor. Or
Huh?
is that part of a motion? Is that a suggestion?
I'm telling, well, they already made the motion, sir, and I don't think they would accept that. But I'm saying, I think there's enough background on the gentleman that I would prefer he not be part of the city. And so if you, I know you've taken him into the
Mayor,
EDC.
I just, at
So
this point.
that would be what I would recommend to you to not to do.
Mayor,
for
at
the
this
city.
point, I think you've made comments that could potentially be slanderous, and I don't think are
I
part
don't
of this
think so, sir. I
conversation.
think there's enough
And
out there.
so, and as I mentioned, I don't think that that's part of this conversation, your personal feelings towards any
It's not a
attorney.
personal feeling, it's that
You're in
I've
the
seen him
field,
use the
You're in
gentleman.
the field, and I'm sure that in your time, you've come across attorneys that you don't like, and just because you don't like them does not mean that, they can't assist the city. And so I have made a motion, and it has been seconded, and I call the question.
All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Item D, consider reviewing the bond options and authorizing the city and First Southwest to begin the procedure to obtain the City of San Juan's financial contribution as it relates to the proposed roadway projects presented by Hidalgo County Precinct 2.
Mayor, that's
Chief.
also an item Mr. Chris Vela requested to be tabled.
Okay, is there a motion to table?
Motion table?
Is there a second? Second. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion, item is tabled. Item E, consider adopting a resolution granting authority to officers, including but not limited to the signing, inquiring, giving written or oral instructions to Plains Capital Bank with respect to any transaction with the Plains Capital Bank. Mr. Gonzalez,
Mayor, Commission.
good evening.
This resolution is to temporarily add my name onto the bank and remove Mr. Gomez, just until you all hire a finance director.
Question for council and maybe for Mrs. Gonzalez, Ms. Gonzalez and Mr. Gonzalez as well. No relation? Do we know the situation the Plains Capital is in right now? I mean, I don't know, but I do know that I received a publication in my packet that we get from the city secretary. And in there, it showed, I think 13 or 14 Plains Capital banks are for sale, the buildings themselves. Are they going to continue to be in operation in the Rio Grande Valley?
The last I heard from them, they were downsizing. They were closing some of the La Alamo and the one here in FAR. The main bank was still going to be open, and they,
In your experience, I mean, is that going to impact the service they provide to us? Or is that something you, I mean, maybe you need to
Yes,
research it and
yes.
see? The only reason I bring that up is because there was 13 banks that are being closed down completely. And the ones that are closest to us are 2 of those 13. And so I see a pattern that's not a very good one at that. And so, I mean, I don't know if that's something that you would look into, or is that something that we need to get maybe the interim city manager along with Ms. Gonzalez to maybe look into? Are they going to be able to continue to provide us the service that we require and that we need? And if not, then what are our options in terminating our relationship with them, if that's something that the commission decides? I just saw it as very troubling, that, here's our depositor, and they just closed down 13 banks in the Hidalgo County alone. It didn't include anything outside of Hidalgo County.
Mayor Patel, let us get in contact with them and see what the status is, where they're going, and then we get some information, and Mr. Gonzalez will come and inform the mayor and commission on that matter.
Do the employees get a check or they just direct deposit?
It's all direct deposit.
All direct deposit.
All right, then you're recommending that we go ahead and approve this so you can start being a signatory.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. State aye. Aye. Motion passes. The next two items, council, they're also under executive. Do I read them or read them as executive?
As executive, Your Honor, Mayor.
We'd like to enter into executive session under Section 551, Subchapter D, exceptions to requirement a meeting be open, Texas Government Code, Section 551.074A1, Personnel Matters, and 551.0711A and 2, consultation with attorney regarding A, to deliberate the appointment, employment of a city manager, discuss the appointment and selection of a city manager from the current pool of applicants for the position of city manager, or advertise and begin the process anew to fill the position of city manager. To deliberate the appointment, employment of a public officer or employee, to determine the course of action or procedure the city commission would like to take as it relates to the position for a manager, including but not limited to selecting from the current pool of applicants or disregarding the current applicant, advertising and begin the process anew to fill the position of city manager for the city of San Juan. And C, consultation with the attorney regarding contemplated litigation against the city of San Juan, Texas. Will now enter at 9:18.
Mayor, if I may, can we address the consent agenda item just so we
Sure.
can dispatch with that?
It's not a problem. Under the consent of agenda, we have approval of minutes, January 27, 2015, regular meeting, and B, collection report, January 31st, 2015. Are there any items on those that need to be pulled? If not, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
We'll now enter executive session at 9:19. We're now back in open session under, at 10:14, item A, to deliberate the appointment, employment of city manager, and discuss the appointment, selection of city manager from the current pool of applicants for the position of city manager, or advertise and begin the process anew and fill a position for city manager. Council, do we take action on A and B together? Are they the same thing, or does it one by one?
Executive session items are basically the same, Mayor. I
So,
would ask that you go back to 7A and B.
under item 7A, consider the appointment and employment of the position for city manager, authorizing the interim city manager, human resource director, and the city attorney to approach the candidate appointed by the city commission and offer the position of city manager to him or her with the benefits and salary as decided upon the city commission, and return to the city commission to request the employment contract between the appointed candidate and the city commission to be approved by the city commission at a future date. Council?
The commission so desires to make a motion based on, however they would like to make that motion, based on your pool of applicants. I would recommend you would make your appointment from there. That's the motion that would like to be made by this commission.
I recommend that we make a, go to the existing pool to be able to find the candidate for the city management position. Is there a motion to that effect? You need to make the motion.
I make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor state aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
So then, a motion that would pass, I suppose? Or go on to the next one?
I'm sorry, Mayor, maybe I didn't explain myself correctly. Under item 7A, you would basically have to appoint somebody from the pool that you have. That's the way it's worded. So if you were to make a motion
Okay,
to appoint from your pool,
okay.
and then if that one didn't pass, then you'd go to B, and you would determine what action to take at that point.
Okay, then I recommend that we appoint from the pool existing. No, but you said we needed to state the person.
You made a motion, I think you went to B first, right? That's what, because you were.
No, I did A.
You did A, but you indicated.
I
should we
said
go to the
general that
current
to
pool?
go to the pool that we had, the existing pool.
Yes,
You
we-
wanted us to name the particular applicant, is that what you're saying?
Yes, because B says, let's go to current pool or disregard and start all over again. So
Okay.
what you did right now is you said, I need a motion to see if we're going to select from the current pool. You don't necessarily
And
need to.
stating the name and a motion to reflect the pool that's existing with the name of Grinstaff as being the one to bring from that pool as the next city manager.
Let me ask you this. Right now, we had a motion, we had a second. And then
Yes.
you had a vote, right?
Yes, mhm.
So basically, that was the answer to B, correct?
Okay,
Right? So you now you're not going to select from the current pool. So then we would need a motion to address B again. What are you going to do now? What is the direction you would like to take?
So I'd like to make a motion that we disregard the current pool of applicants, advertise and begin the process and need to fill the position of city manager for the city of San Juan.
is there a second? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Is there a motion to adjourn?
A would be no action, correct?
Item A, well, we voted, but you said no.
No action.
And that's it. On the last item, there was no action on the item on the agenda. The last item on the agenda, is that correct? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned at 10:18.